This is the day. Start living your authentic life. If you have not yet already started on the journey, this is the day to leave behind all the things that block you from becoming your true self. Refuse that callous call to hate what you do not understand around you or even within yourself. This is the day to live your authentic life. In her book, Black Liturgies, Cole Arthur Riley has a prayer that begins, God of our truest name. We confess that too often we have encountered liberation in a person and chosen hatred. We confess our own jealousy at a person capable of living into their true self while we ourselves are suffocating. We are in bondage to binaries that limit our imaginations for full liberation. This is my focus for this morning, the suffocating binaries we bind ourselves and others into, the cages and boxes we build around ourselves and around the abundant variety that is God. We don't need those boxes and cages. Let us encounter the divine, Riley continues in that prayer. Let us encounter the divine that refuses to be contained by human definition or imagination. Protect those with the courage to stay near to themselves. May their liberation be multiplied in all who encounter it. She gave this prayer the title for trans and non-binary lives. Can we accept that being trans is an act of liberation, that being openly gay or queer in any way can even spill out liberation for others? May their liberation be multiplied in all who encounter it. Can we accept that God's love is not limited by your love? Last year I was at the big bookstore over in Vestal looking for a copy of Cole Arthur Riley's Black Liturgies, but I could not find it. I had forgotten her last name, and so I could not rely on the alphabetical shelving system, so I asked for help. I stopped an employee and described what I was looking for. The author is Arthur Cole or Cole Arthur something. The book is called Black Liturgies. She's a queer black woman writing prayers for liberation. The employee perked up at that description that I had given, and she gave me a glance and asked, "Are you femme?" I smiled, and God help me, I said yes. I'll come back to that in a minute. She brought me down the scripture and devotional aisle to a shelf focused on LGBTQ+. She helped me find my book, and she suggested a second one as well, House of Our Queer by Bex Mui. I left the store with both books, as you can see. Am I fam? Am I part of the family? Am I LGBTQ+? Is our minister about to come out? Kinda. I live in this world as a cis-het man, as a cisgendered heterosexual male. But I'm a little queer. I will not deny that functionally I'm not family. I move through this world as an ally, or at least that's how I hope to be experienced. But I am also a little bit queer, not queer enough to be targeted or impacted by the hate and legislation, but certainly queer enough to be asked about it a lot and to have it come up regularly. I give off a vibe. And that vibe is not entirely wrong. Am I fam? Technically no, but I love the family and I am cool to hang out with fam anytime. You know who was fam? James Baldwin. Do you remember back in August, I'm going to drop a James Baldwin quote every month. Baldwin was an openly gay black man in a time when being either black or gay could just get you randomly killed. Still can. In a collection of posthumously published interviews, Baldwin said, "The terrors homosexuals go through in this society would not be so great if this society itself did not go through so many terrors which it doesn't want to admit. The discovery of one's sexual preference doesn't have to be a trauma. It's a trauma because it's such a traumatized society." There were over 600 anti-trans bills across the country last year. 50 of them passed. According to a website that tracks such legislation, translegislation.com, 2024 was the 5th consecutive record-breaking year for total number of anti-trans bills under consideration in the United States, and I'm hard-pressed to imagine that trajectory changing anytime soon, given the new administration and their expressed plans to harm trans and non-binary people. The world around us wants you to be small and scared. Somebody else benefits by the divisions and the chaos, and some among us choose liberation anyway. Some among us choose to live an out-loud love of their authentic selves, even in the face of the hurt and the hatred poured out upon them. And liberation is available for all of us to grow into who we truly are, liberation for ourselves and others. What I ask is simply that we witness to how we are being fully out loud with our loving. How trans and non-binary and queer people are well aware of this fact publicly. Witness, learn, and when ready, follow that lead. As M. Jade Kaiser said in our reading this morning, in a world that is so boringly, so violently, so stubbornly insisting on its stale and narrow gender rules and regulations, God themselves is in a state of constant transition. Can we instead choose life? As we see our trans and queer siblings doing that every day as a faithful and true expression of faith, can non-trans people also choose life? In another essay on speaking queerly in public, Kaiser writes this: "Train up a child in the way the child should go," says the scripture. And I want them all to go queerly, go freely, go in belonging. I want to raise a whole generation of kids who never learn to hate themselves or treat others as monsters, or that there's anyone even God is against. This is indeed part of my queer agenda, they write, to expose children as early as possible to all the possibilities of their beautiful becoming, to leave no doubt that whichever way their love blossoms or their gender blooms or their body unfurls, they will be protected, cherished, celebrated, loved. M. Jade Kaiser declares what I also proclaim. I want for our trans and queer people the same thing I want for cis and straight people, for everyone to be free, to grow, loved. I want each of you here, everyone really, but you're the ones who are in front of me right now. I want each of you here to grow into your full, authentic self, spiritually, personally, communally, politically, sexually. Politically queer? In our reading this morning, in the opening words this morning, Kaiser said, as in strange and proud of it. Spiritually queer? I have said before, a Buddho-humanist Christo-pagan with occasional bouts of mysticism. Don't give me a box. Religiously queer? I don't know, maybe I hear a lot of people are trans, like you were assigned Catholic at birth. Also, be careful of that acronym. ACAB doesn't mean what that means. It's something else. I want each of you here to be a little bit queer in every possible way, to break out of the boxes and binaries that do not serve life, to grow free, loved. As Becky Brooks said in the prayer from today, this out loud love makes no secret of its aim to get you free. That is why our congregation is sending the signal in so many ways to say we are a space of welcoming and belonging, of protection and inclusion. We are fam. From the rainbow flag and trans rights banners out front to the name tag buttons and the pronoun conversations inside. And did you know we have 11 toilets in this building and that all of them are safe for trans and queer people to use? They are safe for cis people to use as well, of course. Perhaps you don't connect with all of this. Perhaps you think this is not for you, but it is. We make our space safe for all of us when we make our space safe for the most vulnerable among us. There is much in our world causing hurt and fostering hate. If your gut response is, I don't get it, I encourage you to be curious. Who benefits from you not getting it? In that second book I bought last year, House of Our Queer, author Bex Mui talks about the blending realities she lives in racially, educationally, sexually, and religiously. In really every aspect of her life, the either-or kind of choices are false dichotomies and constructs that quickly become unnecessarily constraining. She shares 3 lessons she learned when she left home for college. She says, people will always try to tell you what you are. Our identities are complex. Our lived experiences often don't show up on the surface. Later in the book, she writes, I am so grateful to be queer, to have had the opportunity to personally define who I want to be in relationship with and what those relationships look like. I get to determine, outside of norms, who I am and have found such a fierce, chosen family. As scary as it can be to think of branching out beyond your first family, know that there is an abundance of connection to be made in this world, and there is a chosen family waiting to love you exactly as you are. So I'll ask, are you fam? Maybe you are a little bit queer. Maybe we could all stand to be a little bit more queer. Most of us, after all, do not fit the boxes society provides for us. Our queer and trans siblings have shown people of faith a path forward to becoming our authentic selves that we all can follow. Every faith community can learn to be more accepting, more honest, more affirming, and authentic. Are you fam? Allies included? There is a chosen family waiting to love you exactly as you are. In a world without end, may it be so.